Chapter 462. Jing Yaoshuan, do you dare to fight me? Defeating Murong Qingqing did not satisfy Rakshasa's daughter. She turned around and stared at the Thunder Princess with her gem-like eyes. What? She wants to challenge Princess Jing. Such ambition. Does she plan to shake the entire southern sector? Perhaps it's the spirit of not admitting defeat between women. In this tea gathering, Princess Jing, Murong Qingqing, and her were the most dazzling ones. Now that she has defeated Murong Qingqing, only Princess Jing is left. I wonder if Princess Jing will accept the challenge. Thunder Princess Jing Yaoshuan held the teacup in her hand and took a sip elegantly. She then put down the teacup and said lightly, "Why not?" Jing Yaoshuan's voice was calm, and her movements were elegant. However, everyone could feel the domineering aura that was hidden in her bones. As she said that, the air currents in the sky seemed to have started to move, and the weather changed. Sensing Jing Yaoshuan's powerful aura, Rakshasa's daughter squinted her gem-like eyes, giving off a dangerous and serious change. Standing up, Jing Yaoshuan walked over step by step. Let's begin. All right. The two were 100 meters apart, staring at each other quietly. Their gazes clashed, and their auras clashed. As their auras clashed, the space between the two made a strange noise, as if there was an electric current brewing, ready to explode at any moment. Luo Shan's pupils shrunk. Jing Yaoshuan's power was even more powerful than she had imagined. Not only did her aura not get the upper hand, but it had also been sucked into a thunder tornado, being devoured and weakened. However, Rakshasa's daughter did not panic. Since she dared to challenge the famous Thunder Princess, Jing Yaoshuan, she naturally had the confidence to do so. Before she came, she had already trained the Rakshasa art to the 14th level, and had also trained 2 low-rank ultimacy martial arts to 40% mastery. Other than not having a real martial soul, she did not seem to have any weaknesses. Moreover, she had a purple chi pearl in her hand. This pearl was a high-grade treasure. Not only could it store a large amount of true essence within it, but it could also temporarily extract true essence to make one's true essence even more vigorous and surging, increasing one's battle prowess by quite a bit. Boom! Rakshasa's daughter took a step forward. The surging purple light was like a small purple sun. The short spear in her right hand suddenly pierced out as fast as lightning. Pitter-patter. This stab of Rakshasi was extraordinary. It forcibly swept up a large number of airflow vortexes. The airflow vortexes rose and fell one after another, growing stronger and stronger. It compressed the space in which Jing Yaoshuan could move. Ding! Just like Murong Qingqing, Jing Yaoshuan wore gloves on her hands. Murong Qingqing's glove was made of golden silk, while Jing Yaoshuan's glove was made of blue silk. The glove was smooth, thin, and slightly transparent. As Jing Yaoshuan reached out with her right hand, the airflow vortexes shattered one after another. Finally, 2 fingers clamped onto the tip of Rakshasa's spear, making a crisp sound of metal exploding. Arrogant. Rakshasa's daughter saw that Jing Yaoshuan had used 2 fingers to block her attack. Her face turned purple as she stabbed out with her other short spear. This spear was like a storm. It was Rakshasa's daughter's attack that had been accumulating power. Jing Yaoshuan looked calm. She rubbed her fingers that were clamping onto the tip of the spear, and a blue electric arc exploded. The high heat even caused the tip of the spear to show signs of melting, turning it bright red. Rakshasa's daughter was stimulated by the electric arc. Her body went slightly numb, and her attack slowed down a bit. At that moment, Jing Yaoshuan took back her fingers and clenched them into a fist, punching the incoming short spear. Clang! A large amount of sparks shot up into the sky, like fireworks exploding in front of the two of them. Well done. As expected of Jing Yaoshuan. Jing Yaoshuan's nonchalant attitude made Rakshasa's daughter's fighting spirit even stronger. She leaped into the air and opened her arms. The 2 short spears spun a few times on her palms, as if she was holding two purple light wheels. Then, she swung them down fiercely, slashing out two arcs of light that tore the sky apart. Rakshasa's daughter thought that Jing Yaoshuan would temporarily avoid the attack and take a few steps back. In that case, she would be able to perform her follow-up moves continuously, gaining the upper hand step by step until victory. Unexpectedly, Jing Yaoshuan advanced instead of retreating. She took the initiative to enter the attack range of the arcs of light. Clang! 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 Her sky blue sleeves fluttered as Jing Yaoshuan continued to throw out punches. Each of her punches gave off a powerful and domineering aura. The fist pressure was also tightly attached to the front of her fists, forming a thin film with lightning flickering on it. The arcs of light from Rakshasa's attack were all shattered under this pair of fists. Not giving an inch, indeed the style of the Thunder Princess. Since you don't want to, then I will retreat. Let's see who will be the one laughing in the end. Shoo! Seeing that her attack had failed, Rakshasa's daughter suddenly retreated, coming and going as she pleased. Sigh. Edict Prince shook his head, not saying anything. Astral Spirit Son slightly creased his brows, not saying anything either. You think you can retreat? Two arcs of lightning flashed in front of Jing Yaoshuan's eyes. With her as the center, the air within 3 meters instantly turned into a vacuum, causing the surrounding air to squeeze towards her. At the same time, Rakshasa's retreat was like a boat going against the current, her speed decreasing rapidly. World Domination Fist. Boom! The radiating fist energy exploded, causing blood to leak out from the corner of Rakshasa's daughter's mouth. So that's how it is. If I don't retreat, I will still have a chance. But once I do, there will be no chance at all. Rakshasa's daughter was clear in her mind. She knew that she had made a huge mistake in front of Jing Yaoshuan. Biting her lips, a purple mist rose from her face as the purple chi pearl on her neck poured a huge amount of Zhen Yuan into her body. With the addition of this Zhen Yuan, her aura increased drastically. The purple light around her body had already made the sun in the sky lose its color. Purple Light Sky Strike. A purple light ball condensed on the tip of her spear as Rakshasa threw it at Jing Yaoshuan. It was indeed one of the 2 profound sense martial arts she had mastered. Extreme Emperor World Domination Fist. From the beginning, Jing Yaoshuan had not taken a single step back, and it was the same at this moment. She took a step forward and threw out another fist. However, this fist was twice as powerful as the previous one. The radiating fist energy tore through the sky and spread out. Pooh! Rakshasa's daughter's spear couldn't go any further because a fist was blocking it. She wanted to use her left hand to deliver a second strike, but the radiant fist force had already traveled along the spear's body, sending her flying into the air. She opened her mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. One step back, and then all the steps back. This was the biggest taboo when fighting with Jing Yaoshuan. Stabilizing herself, Rakshasa's daughter wiped the blood off her lips. Royal martial arts are indeed powerful. There is no such thing as taking a step back. Actually, she knew that even if she did not take a step back, she would not be Jing Yaoshuan's opponent. At most, she would only be able to buy some time, which would be pointless. Jing Yaoshuan said, "You are already very powerful to be able to force me to use my Extreme Emperor World Domination Fist. A loss is a loss. I admit defeat." Rakshasa's daughter was not someone who could not afford to lose. Plus, losing to Jing Yaoshuan was expected, but winning was unexpected. After that, the 2 returned to their seats. Indeed, Princess Jing has won. Isn't that obvious? Even if the Edict Prince and the Astral Spirit Son were to fight against Princess Jing, they would still be on par. Rakshasa's daughter is still a bit weaker after all. It seems like it will still be a 3-way battle this year. Everyone was discussing, their voices filled with excitement. Since the martial tea gathering has been held, we will have to find out who is stronger. Lu Hun, let's have a battle. It was Tuo Baku who had spoken. He had not beaten Emo Xiang yet, so he had been itching for a fight. Lu Hun and Emo Xiang were two different types of young warriors, and they would be powerful opponents. All right. Lu Hun was also filled with a powerful battling intent. Not only him, Emo Xiang, Sikong Sheng, Rakshasa's daughter, and the other dragon-level warriors would not let it go just like that. The two had similar power, so the battle had reached its climax right from the beginning. The chi waves created by the collisions had almost shattered the Jin Yuan wall that everyone had created. White Tiger Kill. Lu Hun had thrown out his ace attack. Tuo Baku's comprehensive ability was not as good as Lu Hun's, so the power of his ace attack was not as powerful as Lu Hun's as well. But, he had a powerful bloodline. A huge shadow with a lizard's body and a dragon's head appeared behind his back. The shadow's neck was extended, and the dragon's head appeared in front of Tuo Baku, blocking that attack for him. Then, that huge shadow's foot that was covered in scales reached out and slapped Lu Hun away. With his talent, Tuo Baku had beaten Lu Hun after a hard battle. Of course, it did not mean that Lu Hun was not as powerful as Emo Xiang. It was just that Lu Hun's attacking style was not as powerful as Emo Xiang's. Therefore, he could not suppress Tuo Baku at all. The battle between the two had ignited everyone's battling intent. Emo Xiang could not hold it anymore. He walked out, wanting to challenge Tuo Baku again. It was not that he did not want to challenge the others, but Sikong Sheng and Lu Hun had been wounded, Lu Hun and Tuo Baku had been wounded, and Rakshasa and Jingyaoshuan had been wounded as well. Although it was not a big deal, he did not want to take advantage of them. As for Murong Qingqing, he did not want to face her at all. Even though he knew that Murong Qingqing's power was not weaker than hers, he just could not bring himself to do it. Therefore, only Tuo Baku was not wounded. After 1 night and half a day, the two's wounds had already been healed for a long time. Right now, Tuo Baku had only used up a little bit of Jin Yuan. Tuo Baku was about to accept the challenge when Yi Chen stood up. Tuo Baku, let me have this battle. You have used up quite a bit of Jin Yuan. Tuo Baku seemed to have thought of something as he smiled and walked down the stage. Emo Xiang looked shocked. Could it be? Meanwhile, the people who were drinking tea started to discuss and express their opinions. No way. Yi Chen is going to challenge Emo Xiang. Emo Xiang is a true dragon-level warrior, which is even more powerful than the Black Sword Artist. The reverse Sky Thunder cut will probably have no effect on him at all. This is no longer a matter of martial arts. It is a matter of basic power. Yeah. Judging on martial arts, Emo Xiang is not weaker than anyone else. Therefore, even if he had hidden more powerful ace attacks, it would still not work. Is it just for the sake of a challenge? Or maybe he saw that Tuo Baku had used up a lot of Jin Yuan during the battle with Lu Hun, so he decided to fight for him. When Emo Xiang was battling with Tuo Baku, the blue chi flow that came out of his body was very powerful. It was also the biggest reason why he was able to fight against Tuo Baku's giant lizard shadow. Therefore, not many people thought that Yi Chen would be able to win against Emo Xiang with only his sword spirit level sword intent. Chapter 463. Inside the pavilion, Yi Chen's body shook once as he appeared 100 steps in front of Emo Xiang like a ghost. If you still have the same power as before, you will not be able to win against me. You will lose. Emo Xiang was not sure about Yi Chen, so he tried to test him. Yi Chen said lightly, just try your best. Oh. Emo Xiang did not know where Yi Chen got his confidence from, but he could vaguely tell that this battle would not be easy. Yi Chen obviously still had some hidden attacks. But, even if he did, so what? Unless one had learned a profound sense martial art and had learned it to 50%. Unfortunately, 50% of a profound sense martial art was almost the dividing line. Beyond 50%, one would need to use the profound sense to push it, and the poetic perspective would be useless. In other words, without the corresponding profound sense, one would not be able to learn beyond 50% of a profound sense martial art, which would be the true essence of a profound sense martial art. Whether I need to try my best or not, it is up to me to decide. Just as he finished speaking, Mo Xiang bent both of his legs and jumped into the air. It was still the wild goose attack that he had used against Tuo Baku. Although the wild goose attack was simple, and it was not a secret anymore, it was performed by Mo Xiang without any flaws, and it was as fast as a shooting star. His body glided in the air as Mo Xiang's right knee attacked toward Yi Chen with a blue shooting star tail flame. Extremely fast. Extremely fast. This attack had accumulated all of Mo Xiang's explosive power. Right then, there was no point in trying to break through the attack, because under such extreme speed, there would be no time to do so. However, he was fast, but Yi Chen was even faster. The fast part was to take out the sword. In Yi Chen's hands, the process of taking out the sword could be skipped. His mind moved, his hand moved, and the sword chi exploded, tearing apart the sky. Boom! The crescent-shaped sword light and the blue shooting star light clashed together. A circular shockwave spread out, and the Zhen Yuan wall around them made a cracking sound. Such a fast sword-taking speed. Mo Xiang's pupils shrank. The wild goose attack had been blocked out, and the python attack had been stopped. It was the complete opposite of when he was battling against Tuo Baku. Without changing his posture, Yi Chen slid forward with his feet on the ground, but his eyes had already locked onto Mo Xiang, who was exposed by the shockwave, and he slashed at him. The sword chi, which contained the sword spirit level sword intent, tore through the air and cut through Mo Xiang's protective Zhen Yuan like a sharp knife. Puff! The sword chi was shattered. Blue chi surged on Mo Xiang's palm, boiling like fire. At the waist of his clothes, there was a cut. Looking down at his waist and then at Yi Chen, Mo Xiang's expression became much more serious. The blue airflow on his right palm suddenly burst out and he swung his hand. Tiger Soul Palm. The blue light palm was like a hot knife through butter, its destructive power multiplied. Mo Xiang was sure that with Yi Chen's current strength, it would be very difficult for him to block the Tiger Soul Palm, and the Tiger Soul Palm was not his strongest attack. It seems like I have to increase my sword intent. The center of his eyebrows slightly swelled, and the sword intent around Yi Chen's body increased drastically. If it was a beginner sword spirit level sword intent before, then it was now a peak level beginner sword spirit level sword intent. As the sword intent grew stronger, Yi Chen's whole body looked like a great sword, showing off its sharpness. Even the people outside of the battle could feel that sharp willpower. Sky Thunder Cut. He was holding the destruction sword in his hand. Although it was not as good as the Thunder Sword, it was still better than the Greenwood Sword. The sword light sliced down, cutting open the blue light palm instantly. What? His sword intent increased again. It was not a hidden ace attack, but a hidden power. Everyone was shocked, but soon realized what was going on. Take my Tiger Soul Cross Cut. No one knew when, but Mo Xiang jumped up into the sky. Both of his arms exploded with a blue flame-like chi flow, burning fiercely. Then, he crossed his arms and lifted them up high, waving them down. Reverse Sky Thunder Cut. Yi Chen had already prepared for this attack. He held the Thunder Sword's hilt with his left hand and pulled it out, waving upwards. The blue sword light wrapped around the cross light. Boom! Eventually, the sword light and the cross light were both shattered. The aftershock had shattered a lot of Zhen Yuan walls. Fortunately, there were more people there to support the Zhen Yuan walls. Mo Xiang was not surprised, since the reverse Sky Thunder Cut was way more powerful than the Sky Thunder Cut. It was expected that it would be able to block out the Tiger Soul Cross Cut. This is your real power. But, I have not shown my real power yet. Whoosh! Not only his arms, but Mo Xiang's whole body had exploded with blue qi flow. These blue qi flows rubbed against each other, looking like a blue flame, burning fiercely. During the battle with Tua Baku, he had planned to use his peak power, but he was stopped by the Thunder Princess. Of course, he also knew that the huge lizard shadow behind Tua Baku was not simple, and the result was still unknown. But, Yi Chen was not Tua Baku, and would not be able to block out his peak power. Mo Xiang is going to use all of his power now. I wonder if Yi Chen can handle it. Probably not. Yi Chen has already used all of his attacks, and Mo Xiang has only just started. Yeah. This blue qi flow is too horrifying. With the blue qi flow, Mo Xiang's power has almost doubled. As the crowd discussed, Tua Baku stared at Yi Chen without blinking. Yi Chen, Mo Xiang has already used his most powerful ace. What about you? What do you have? Not only Tua Baku, everyone was making guesses. The black sword artist who had lost to Yi Chen, the deadly sword artist Leng Zhuo who had never battled with Yi Chen before, Luo Shan who had just won a lot, Lu Han who had lost to Tua Baku, Xikong Sheng who had no expression on his face, and even the Thunder Princess Jing Yaoshuan, the Edict Prince, and the Astral Spirit Son. When have I ever shown my real power? Putting the Thunder Sword back into its scabbard, Yi Chen's sword intent did not decrease, but increased to an extremely horrifying level. That sword intent was so real that it had even shaken up the surreal space, and the sword sound had reached deep into people's souls. Eventually, the sword intent had nowhere to go, so it shot up into the sky. Mid-rank sword spirit level sword intent. What is going on? The sword intent is still increasing. This sword intent is already not weaker than some of the powerful Sea of Souls realm sword artists. Perhaps he has been using the same level of power to fight with his opponents, and as his opponent's power increases, so does his. So horrifying. How can an astral-reaching realm warrior have such a horrifying sword intent? Mo Xiang was shocked. He thought that his opponent had already used up all of his tricks, but who knew that he would only reveal his real power now? If it were not for his power, he would not be able to force his opponent to use his real power. No wonder he had asked him to use all of his power from the beginning. Alright, now it will be interesting. The soaring sword intent had stimulated Mo Xiang's battling intent to the peak. His condition had never been better, and the blue flame on his body was burning brighter and brighter. Take this. With the blue flame wrapped around his body, Mo Xiang's speed, defense, and attack had all reached a whole new level. With a flash, he appeared in front of Yi Chen within a second, throwing out a palm attack. It was indeed the Tiger Soul Palm, but it was not over yet. His other hand curved up and slashed down. Holding the sword with both of his hands, Yi Chen's hair danced in the air as he threw out two Sky Thunder cut attacks in a row. Boom! No one knew how many of the Jin Yuan walls had been shattered. Almost half of the people had joined in the training of Jin Yuan walls, but the battle between the two had just begun. Tiger Soul Cross Cut. Reverse Sky Thunder Cut. The two of them did not have many killing moves, but because they were fast enough, it was overwhelming. Moreover, when the same move was used in different situations, it would have different effects. Every step was shocking. I have already learned the 9th movement of the Green Lotus Sword Art. But, the best steel should be used on the blade, not now. As he fought, Yi Chen thought to himself. If Mo Xiang knew about this, he would be very disappointed, which meant that Yi Chen still had some power left. Back out. Mo Xiang rushed out of the battle and threw out another Tiger Soul Cross Cut. Time to end this. Holding the Destruction Sword in his right hand and the Thunder Sword in his left hand, Yi Chen slightly lowered his body, looking like a cheetah that was about to attack. Sky Thunder Cut. Reverse Sky Thunder Cut. Both swords were thrown out at the same time. Cross Cut. In front of everyone's shocked eyes, the bright sword light seemed to have divided the sky into 4 parts, and the crossing point was exactly Wuxia, who was still in the sky. Pooh! The 2 sword lights combined together had not only shattered the cross light, but also blew Wuxia into the sky. There was a cross sword mark on his chest, with blood splashing everywhere. Yi Chen had won. Until Wuxia fell to the ground, the pavilion was silent, not a single sound could be heard. Then, no one knew who was the first to let out a gasp, but the pavilion immediately exploded. The discussions were so loud that it was hard to tell who was speaking. Double sword style. What a joke. This is like 2 sword artists attacking Wuxia at the same time. Can one really use 2 ace attacks at the same time? Everyone understood that it was easy to use one sword with each hand, but it would be extremely hard to bring out one's peak power at the same time, not to mention performing 2 ace attacks. Not to mention the problem of body coordination, it would not be enough for one to do 2 things at the same time, because it would affect one's fighting power as well. Unless one could do 3 things at the same time, or 4 things at the same time, they would be able to make better use of it. Otherwise, everyone would be using 2 swords and 2 blades at the same time. Yi Chen had shocked the world with one brilliant move. Double sword style, scary. Li Daoxian could not find words to describe his shock anymore, so he could only use the word, scary. Yan Qihua's mouth twitched a little, but he could not say anything. Mu Lingfeng, who had a bit of admiration for Yi Chen, squeezed the teacup in his hand tightly, as if he could not believe his own eyes. Only when the teacup shattered and the tea splashed out did he wake up. I thought I had caught up to him, and even had the illusion that I had surpassed him. Sigh. Tuobaku knew that he was not Yi Chen's opponent, so there was no need to compete. Crawling up from the ground, Wuxia looked at Yi Chen blankly, watching that Yi Chen put his sword back into its scabbard with a calm face. The pain in his chest seemed to have been forgotten, and only his qi and blood were boiling. The latter had surprised him too much, so much that he did not know what to feel. Besides the Edict Prince, no one had made him lose so badly. Yi Chen was the second. So, this is your real power, your extraordinary battle skills. Martial arts were important, but so were battle skills. Powerful warriors could even use their battle skills to play a decisive role. Without a doubt, Yi Chen was this kind of person, this kind of sword artist. Chapter 464. Returning the 2 swords to their sheaths, Yi Chen slowly raised his head and looked at Wuxia, who was not far away. Wuxia's strength was actually very powerful, having long surpassed the boundary of astral-reaching paragons. In other words, even if an extreme astral-reaching expert were equipped with an upper-grade artifact, they would still not be his opponent. This was because Wuxia was no longer at the astral-reaching realm. Beyond this realm, he could barely contend against the weakest sea of soul realm experts. Naturally, he was not someone an astral-reaching paragons could compare with. Unfortunately, Yi Chen was even more powerful than his opponent. Back on Blue Mountain Island, his battle power was already twice that of an astral-reaching paragons. After that, he had been progressing with every passing second. Not only in terms of basic strength, but also in techniques and sword Dao cultivation base. With the 3 great sword wills gathered in one body, how could he not progress? Staying where he was would be a disgrace. Dual Sword King is the king of dual sword style. His slaughter will target any living thing. Only he can bring out the dual sword style to its peak. Right now, I am merely at the tip of the iceberg. Yi Chen was very clear that he was able to use dual swords, but it was only the basics. Of course, even if it was just the basics, it was still not something that normal people could learn. Normal people would never be able to multitask, or even multitask. Besides that, in order to use dual swords, one's soul would have to be more powerful than others. Otherwise, in the long run, it would be very easy to develop schizophrenia. The road I have to walk is still very long. Yi Qin could not help but sigh. Nobody knew why Yi Qin sighed, but under the gentle breeze, Yi Qin, who was dressed in blue robes and had a handsome and elegant appearance, gave people a feeling of being alone and admiring himself. Some of the arrogant beauties were mesmerized. Dual sword style is indeed the top battle technique. I accept my loss wholeheartedly. Adjusting his qi and blood, Mo Xiang cupped his fists towards Yi Qin with a pale face. Yi Qin nodded and said nothing. After Mo Xiang left the stage, Yi Qin followed him. Today was the second day of the tea gathering. In the first 2 days, the 3 true dragon-level experts would not fight each other. Tomorrow would be the climax of the tea gathering. As for Rakshasa's daughter challenging Thunder Princess Jing Aoshuan, it was already against the rules. Jing Aoshuan could reject it until tomorrow. Next, the injured quasi-true dragon rank experts focused on healing their wounds and trying to recover to their peak condition. The ones who went out to spar were the young elites of the first and second level. It was undeniable that the Thunder region, being called the strongest region in the southern sector, was not without reason. Although they did not have as many top warriors as the South Rudra region, which only had 3, their core strength could be said to be frightening. It was 10 times more than the South Rudra region, and several times more than the other regions. Floating Light region and Gold Sand region were a bit weaker than the Thunder region, but they were still powerful. Any random young elite from them would be an expert. Tuabaku shook his head. If South Rudra region wants to get rid of its outer appearance as a weak region, it will not be enough with just us. We can guarantee our position for the next few rounds, but after that, we will not participate anymore. Yi Qin said, the requirements for the tea gathering are too high. Otherwise, it would be better to bring more people. You're right. Let them see the gap between them and the outside world. Only then will they disregard everything and work hard, racing against time. Everything required fighting spirit. If one did not interact with the outside world for a long time, his fighting spirit would disappear, and he would not be able to maintain his peak condition. As a result, his progress would naturally slow down. There were many geniuses in the world, but how many of them were stuck in one place and ended up being mediocre for the rest of their lives? The two would talk occasionally, but most of the time, they would be watching the battles. Although the low-level battles were not that interesting, once one calmed down, they would be able to see their own shortcomings from the others. For example, Yi Qin had watched dozens of young warriors who had mastered the wood mentality battle, so he was able to comprehend the 9th movement of the Green Lotus sword art. If he were to try to comprehend it by himself, it would take him at least 10 times more time. This was the importance of learning from others, and also the other meaning of the tea gathering. The sun went down, and the night arrived. When the darkness disappeared, it was already the morning of the second day. South Rudra region Sikong Sheng would like to learn from Edict Prince Li Xiaoyun. When the first beam of sunlight shone down from the sky, a voice that was not loud shocked everyone. Everyone looked towards the source of the voice. It was Sikong Sheng. Sikong Sheng wants to challenge the Edict Prince. The Edict Prince is the #1 warrior of the Floating Light region, and Lu Han is the #2. Sikong Sheng had just lost to Lu Han yesterday, so how could he beat the Edict Prince? You can't say it like that. The Edict Prince was indeed the #1 warrior of the Floating Light region 2 years ago. But, the Edict Prince from 2 years ago was not much different from the current dragon-level warriors. Who knows if he has made any progress, or if his progress was not as big as expected. It is not impossible, but it is very small. While everyone was discussing, the black-robed Sikong Sheng flew out and stood in the center of the stage, a threatening cold light flickering in his eyes. Edict Prince Li Xiaoyun was slightly startled, as if he didn't expect that the first one to challenge him would be Sikong Sheng. He thought that in this tea gathering, it would still be Jing Aoshuan or Astral Spirit's son who would spar with him. Uxian, who was standing on the side, said, "Let me deal with him." Li Xiaoyun smiled lightly, "No need. It seems like they are doubting my strength, thinking that I have not made much progress in the past 2 years. After finishing his words, he patted Yuxian's soft little hand, stood up, and walked towards the spacious stage. Li Xiaoyun's clothes were just like his name, full of a mysterious aura. The elegant 7-star robe made him look even more carefree. Shoo! Approaching the center of the stage, a bright silver iron fan appeared in Li Xiaoyun's hand, and a wave of great weapon vibration spread out. Yi Chen thought to himself, there are not many people who use a fan as a weapon, and fan-type weapons are even rarer. But it is because of this that it is so hard to deal with. Boom! Waiting until Li Xiaoyun was 100 meters away from him, Xikongsheng made his move. It was an extremely horrifying low-rank profound sense martial art, earth core sinking. As the earth core sinking was performed, an endless gravitational force landed on Li Xiaoyun's body, forcing him to be unable to move. Of course, Li Xiaoyun did not plan to move at all. Dragon Fan Dance. Facing Xikongsheng's ace attack, Li Xiaoyun rubbed his thumb, and the bright silver iron fan opened up like a peacock opening its tail. He then waved it towards the right, drawing a bright silver trail in the air. Hoo! 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 This fan seemed to have gathered all the wind yuan qi in the world, and a dragon-like tornado appeared out of nowhere, attacking towards Xikongsheng. Xikongsheng's pupils shrank. He did not care about normal tornadoes, but the one Li Xiaoyun had thrown out was extraordinarily powerful. It could easily shatter mountains, and that dragon-like body was shining with a crystal light, which was an extremely condensed phenomenon. The fist power landed on the tornado, and 30% of its power was immediately cancelled out by the tornado's rotating power. The remaining 70% could not stop the tornado at all. Boom! Boom! Since one punch was not enough, Xikongsheng threw out 2 more punches, and the tornado disappeared right away. Pear Flower Dance. Li Xiaoyun had a smile on his face as he walked over step by step. He waved the iron fan in his hand slightly, and a pear flower-shaped tornado shot towards Xikongsheng. Xikongsheng crossed both of his arms and was blown away. Scythe Blade Dance. Another 2 scythe-like wind blades were thrown out. If it were released by normal people, it would be very easy for them to dodge. However, it was performed by Li Xiaoyun, and it was just that magical. Xikongsheng had only dodged the first one, but was blown away by the second one, with blood dripping down from the corner of his mouth. Too powerful. They are not even at the same level. Who said that the Edict Prince did not improve enough? In my opinion, even the Jing Princess would not be his opponent. I did not expect the Edict Prince to be this powerful. Xikongsheng, who was at the quasi-true dragon level, did not even have the power to fight back, and the Edict Prince did not even get serious. At first, I thought that the 3 true dragon level experts were only a bit stronger than the quasi-true dragon level experts. But now, it seems like they are not just a bit stronger, but a whole level stronger. Everyone was shocked by the Edict Prince's power, including the people of South Rudra region. Tuabaku smacked his lips, his face dumbfounded. How was this a spar? One was blown away even after going all out, while the other was playing it down with a smile on his face. However, the might he had displayed while playing it down was shocking. This was the Edict Prince's strength. Before the Thunder Princess became famous, he was the #1 expert of the Southern Rudra region. Even now, a lot of people believed that the Edict Prince was still the #1 expert, and the Thunder Princess and Astral Spirit's son were slightly inferior. Of course, whether it was true or not would have to be observed. Who knew how much of the Thunder Princess's strength had been used? As for the Astral Spirit's son, he had not made a single move from the beginning to the end. He is indeed very powerful. Yi Chen had never felt threatened by anyone of the same generation, not even when he was facing Xikongsheng in the Hidden Dragon rank competition. However, at this moment, he felt the terror of the Edict Prince. He was clear that he had no choice but to go all out. Just when everyone thought that Xikongsheng was about to lose the spar, an evil qi suddenly erupted from his body. A berserk martial will erupted, covering the entire Pointer River stage and the majority of the beautiful garden. This martial will was not an ordinary one. It was an evil martial will. This is the ace I left behind. Now, I will use it on you. Let's see how you can endure it. Xikongsheng punched toward Li Xiaoyun, his evil intent wreaking havoc. Evil martial will. Not bad, but its level is too low. Wait until you condense a true evil soul, then perhaps you will be able to fight against me. But not now. Li Xiaoyun shook his head. The iron fan in his hand spun and shook. Fan dance, 7-star kill. Puchi. 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 7 cold stars appeared around Xikongsheng's body. The 7 cold stars were connected to each other, looking like the Big Dipper's 7 stars, shining brightly. Puchi. Puchi. Puking out a huge amount of blood, the evil intent on Xikongsheng's body froze for a second before he was blown backward. Li Xiaoyun had won. All the people who were watching the battle in the pavilion were shocked. Xikongsheng had used his most powerful ace, the ace he would rather lose to Lu Hun than expose, the evil martial will. He thought that it would be enough to fight against the Edict Prince, but it was still not enough. The Edict Prince only needed to get slightly serious to defeat him easily. In everyone's eyes, the Edict Prince, Li Xiaoyun, seemed to be standing on top of a mountain, looking down at the world. He waved the iron fan in his hand, waving it in the sky. Chapter 465. Although Xikongsheng lost to Edict Prince Li Xiaoyun, he is not simple either. He actually hid the evil will. He should have comprehended it from the evil king, right? Recovering from his thoughts, Tuo Baku said to Yi Qin. Yi Qin nodded. There were many Daos that had separated from the martial Dao, such as the sword Dao, demonic Dao, blade Dao, and naturally, the evil Dao. The evil Dao's position was even higher than the blade Dao, and was equivalent to the sword Dao and demonic Dao. The evil will it had evolved from was somewhat similar to the demonic Dao, but it was a bit more gentle, not as unbridled, cruel, and cold-blooded. The fact that Xikongsheng could comprehend the evil will was enough to prove his comprehension ability. However, compared to the Edict Prince, he was still a bit too naive. The latter had become famous before anyone here. Even with the evil will, he couldn't even withstand a single blow. How could this so-called Edict Prince be so powerful? The 6th and 7th knights exchanged a glance. In the Evil King Pavilion, only the 1st and 4th knights, Xikongsheng, had comprehended the evil will. The others didn't. This was also the reason why the Evil King valued Xikongsheng so much. With the evil will, even if Xikongsheng didn't condense a true evil soul, his offensive power would still surpass the low-grade martial spirit. However, he still couldn't withstand a single blow. Edict Prince Li Xiaoyun was too frightening. The battle between Edict Prince and Xikongsheng had caused too much of a commotion, to the point that the battles of the fake dragon level didn't attract much attention. Only when the battle of the quasi-dragon level began did some people calm down. If the first 2 days of the tea gathering were the appetizers, then the 3rd day would be the main meal. The participants of the battle were all experts above the fake dragon level. Right now, it was Gold Sand Region's Luo Shan and Floating Light Region's Lu Hun. Lu Hun was very powerful, but Luo Shan was even more powerful. After 100 moves, she defeated Lu Hun. After that, it was the second battle between Tuo Baku and Mo Xiang. In this battle, Thunder Princess Jing Aoshuan had said that no lives could be lost. If they could stop in time, it would be best if they could. If they still couldn't decide the winner, then it would still be a draw. Once the battle had begun, Tuo Baku had released his huge lizard shadow while Mo Xiang's body started to burn with a blue chi flow. The two were ready to use all of their power right from the beginning. Tuo Baku's giant lizard shadow was good at both offense and defense, without any weakness. Mo Xiang's speed, defense, and attack had been doubled. His battling power was horrifying, and he was more focused on attacking. But eventually, Tuobaku lost. He had not lost in terms of power, but in terms of endurance. The huge lizard shadow consumed a lot of Zhen Yuan. After 1,000 attacks, the Zhen Yuan inside his body had been completely emptied. Of course, Mo Xiang was not any better. After beating Tuobaku, he was soaked in sweat, and his legs had even gone soft. Then, it was time for Lu Hun's battle. He was not wounded that badly, and Tuobaku and Mo Xiang had been battling for a long time, which gave him plenty of time to recover. Plus, as a true dragon-level martial genius, the pellets provided by the martial institutions were not normal, and could not be bought even with spirit stones. This was also the reason why everyone could recover so fast during the tea gathering. Lu Hun's opponent was Murong Qingcheng. As for Xikongsheng, he had not fully recovered yet. Murong Qingcheng's attacking power was not that powerful, which was below average among the true dragon-level warriors. On the other hand, Lu Hun's defense was very powerful. Even if it was not number 1, it would be number 2. Therefore, this battle was extremely tough, and no one could do anything to the other. Thunder Princess Jing Yaoshuan could only announce it as a draw. Chu Zhongtian, I have not seen you make a move yet. I would like to see it for myself. After Xikongsheng challenged the Edict Princely Xiaoyun, another bomb was dropped on the stage. Yi Chen was going to challenge the Astral Spirit Son, Chu Zhongtian. Wearing blue robes and with a long sword on his waist, Yi Chen stood on the stage and looked at the Astral Spirit Son, Chu Zhongtian. Chu Zhongtian frowned slightly, seeming to be unhappy as he said lightly, "You better back off. There is no need for a battle between you and me." Why doesn't the Astral Spirit Son accept the challenge? Earlier, Luo Shan challenged Princess Jing, and Xikongsheng challenged the Edict Prince, Li Xiaoyun. Both of them accepted the challenge. Haven't you seen it? The Astral Spirit Son thinks that Yi Chen is not his opponent, and he doesn't want to fight. Look at his face. Those with good eyesight were able to see the blood on the first prick. This is a bit too much. Even if Yi Chen is not as powerful as him, there is no need for him to not accept the challenge. The Astral Spirit Son has always been like this. He is arrogant and does whatever he wants. But, he does have the right to be arrogant. I wonder how Yi Chen is going to deal with this. His dual sword style should not be underestimated. He might have a chance. Yi Chen was not angry. He raised his eyebrows and said, "You don't dare to accept the challenge." Picking up the teacup and taking a sip, Chu Zhongtian lowered his eyes. "You still don't understand what I'm saying. You are not my opponent. The so-called dual sword style is nothing in front of me. So, I don't need to waste my time on you." Yi Chen smiled, but there was a hint of weirdness in his smile. Seeming to feel that Chu Zhongtian had spoken, Luo Shan stood up. "Yi Chen, since my head disciple doesn't want to fight, why don't I spar with you for a bit?" "No need. He will come out." "Shoo." If the opponent did not want to come out, then he would fight him. Taking out the thunder sword, Yi Chen threw out a sky thunder cut toward the pavilion where the Astral Spirit Son was. This sky thunder cut was definitely not ordinary, because it contained a peak-level sword spirit sword intent, which was much more powerful than the one he had used against Mo Xiang. Luo Shan had not expected that Yi Chen would attack just like that. Her eyebrows creased as she tried to defend against the sword light with a serious expression. However, her power was only at the same level as Mo Xiang's. How could she possibly defend against this sky thunder cut? A purple light flashed as her whole body was blown away, and the pavilion was about to be cut into two. Swoosh! The sword light disappeared as Chu Zhongtian had shattered it with a single punch. After throwing out this punch, Chu Zhongtian slowly stood up. As he stood up, the space within a radius of tens of meters, including the pavilion, seemed to be shaking, as if it could not withstand the pressure of Chu Zhongtian's aura. Your power is indeed not bad, but my current level is still too early for you. Pausing for a while, Chu Zhongtian continued, since you insist on fighting with me, I will fulfill your wish. Let me warn you first, this battle will be very fast. Don't hold any hope. Although Chu Zhongtian's attitude was arrogant, it had undoubtedly ignited the passion of everyone present, including Thunder Princess Jing Aoshuan and Edict Prince Li Xiaoyun. They all attached great importance to this battle, because they could vaguely see the astral spirit sun's power. As long as you're willing to fight, it's fine. As for the result, you don't need to worry about it, because you will find that the result is not within your expectations. Yi Chen's voice was very calm. Chu Zhongtian stared at Yi Chen, the corner of his mouth twitching. In the past year, I've fought with 13 spirit realm experts. Among them, I've killed 2, defeated 7, and fought 4 to a draw. Among them, there was a swordsman. While speaking, Chu Zhongtian took out his weapon, a dark red mace with many sections connected to each other. It was very heavy, with a smooth tip. Everyone present could not suppress their astonishment. They all knew that the astral spirit sun had fought with spirit realm experts, but no one knew that he had fought with as many as 13, and 2 of them had died in his hands. Moreover, he had defeated 7. This result was enough to shock the world. Looking at Yi Chen, Chu Zhongtian said, against you, 60% of my power is enough. While speaking, the mace in his hand ignited a dark red air current that was like a mist. As soon as it came in contact with the air, a large area immediately turned into a vacuum. Yi Chen squinted his eyes. Although the astral spirit sun was arrogant, his strength was not to be underestimated. The true yuan qi that was emitted had burned the air, which meant that the opponent's true yuan had reached an unimaginable level. At least, he had never seen anyone's true yuan that could directly evaporate the air, not to mention the true yuan qi that was emitted. Just a strand of true yuan qi was already so frightening. Then, what about true yuan? It should be at least several times stronger than true yuan qi. Take my mace first. From afar, Chu Zhongtian waved his mace. A dark red shadow tore through the sky, carrying a mountain-shattering momentum as it attacked toward Yi Chen. What harm is there in taking your mace? Yi Chen raised the thunder sword and slashed out. Rumble. It was just a normal exchange between the two, but the shockwave created was far more powerful than any battle between quasi-true dragon realm experts. Countless true yuan barriers were shattered. Not bad, barely enough to pique my interest. No one saw how Chu Zhongtian moved. By the time his voice arrived, he had already arrived in front of Yi Chen and attacked 46 times. Each attack was extremely powerful, as if there was a mountain compressed within. What was more frightening was that the person holding the mace was even more powerful than a mountain. Boom 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 boom, shockwaves suddenly exploded on the open field. Within the shockwaves, mace shadows flew everywhere and sword chi crisscrossed. If not for the thunder pattern iron's restriction power protecting it, it would have been torn apart countless times already. Nearly 400 people opened their eyes wide, wanting to see the exchange between the two clearly. However, those who could clearly see the battle could be counted on one hand. The rest of the people were in a daze and could not see anything clearly. Fuck. What kind of speed is this? What kind of attacking power is this? Just the shockwave alone is enough to tear me into pieces. It's like fighting in a superstorm. The more they could not see clearly, the more excited they became. Because they could not see clearly, it meant how terrifying the battle between the two was. It was a battle beyond their imagination. They admired Yi Chen from the bottom of their hearts for being able to last this long. But at the same time, they could not help but gasp at astral spirit sun's power. This was 60% of his power, and if he were to use all of it, it would be enough to turn the sky upside down. In the center of the expanding shockwaves, Yi Chen slashed Chu Zhongtian's shadow into pieces. His expression did not change as he turned around to defend against the real attack. Pang! The sword and the talisman clashed. The blue sword qi and the dark red talisman shadow clashed together, creating a spiral-shaped explosion. 90% of the Jin Yuan barrier was shattered instantly, and a lot of people puked out blood. They were blown out of the stage, their faces pale. Let's go to the sky. Yi Chen shot up into the sky. Chapter 466. Chu Zhongtian sneered and chased after him with his dark red rapier. The two, one in front and one behind, were like two beams of aurora, one blue and one red. Up in the sky, the two of them were no longer restrained. Both of them raised their speed to a new height. Two beams of aurora kept clashing against each other, and shockwaves rippled out from their collisions. The blue and red shockwaves formed a marvelous sight in the sky above Thunder City. Swish! After another clash, the two retreated several hundred meters away from each other. I admit that your strength is a bit higher than I had imagined. The two's exchange just now was too fast, and it was purely a battle of speed. Therefore, Chu Zhongtian did not use any of his powerful moves. Yi Chen glanced at the dark red rapier in Chu Zhongtian's hand and said indifferently, "This is just the beginning. Actually, you were testing my strength, and I was also testing yours. Without sufficient strength, I might not be able to use my full strength." Although the two's tone was not high, under the amplification of Jin Yuan, it could be heard dozens of li away. Hearing Yi Chen's reply, everyone was dumbfounded. Earlier, Astral Spirit Sun had said that Yi Chen was not worthy of exchanging pointers with him, and that he could defeat him with only 60% of his strength. Who would have thought that Yi Chen also had the same thought, thinking that Astral Spirit Sun would not use his full strength if he did not display his strength? My God, is this really Yi Chen's first time participating in the tea gathering? Why do I feel that he is treating himself as a true dragon-level expert? Experts all have the bearing of an expert. If they can save some strength, they will. Yi Chen's words made the spectators within dozens of li excited. They knew that this exchange would not be simple. Chu Zhongtian's expression turned slightly cold. Be careful of your tongue being cut by the wind. It won't be too late to talk after receiving one of my moves. I'll accompany you to the end. The sword intent emitted from Yi Chen's body seemed to have materialized. The two looked at each other from a distance. Their majestic auras clashed, causing hurricanes to blow up in the sky and clouds to gather and disperse. Almost at the same time, the two moved, charging straight at each other. Boom! The two objects approached each other at an extreme speed. The space between them could not bear the pressure and exploded. Fragmentation mace. On the way, the dark red mace in Chu Zhongtian's hand became brighter and brighter. Specks of dust floated around the mace. These specks of dust flickered with a dreamy light from time to time, as if they were specks of dust compressed from gems. Turning the macroscopic into the microscopic, what a profound technique. Amidst the extreme speed, Yi Chen felt as if time had stopped. He looked at the treasured mace in Chu Zhongtian's hand and the dreamy dust surrounding it. He knew that this move was definitely not ordinary, and it probably had a different kind of destructive power. Destruction Sword Intent, Sky Thunder Cut. Pouring the Destruction Sword Intent into the Thunder Sword, Yi Chen raised the sword high and hacked out, leaving a bright arc of light in the air. Dong! Pitter-patter. The sword and the talisman clashed. First, there was a loud sound, followed by countless small explosions. Between the two of them, countless small fireworks exploded. You actually broke my fragmentation mace. While being blown away by the shockwave, Chu Zhongtian's pupils shrank. As the user of the fragmentation mace, only he knew how powerful this move was. Those specks of dust might not seem to have any destructive power, but if one underestimated them and allowed them to get close to the body, no matter how strong one's defense was, one would still be blown half to death. That was because every speck of dust contained a lot of Jin Yuan, and the moment it exploded, it would be extremely terrifying. However, Yi Chen had blocked his attack and detonated the specks of dust, causing the fragmentation mace to fail to achieve its intended effect. Very good, you have the qualifications to make me take you seriously. Chu Zhongtian stopped his body and stepped into the air. Dragging his long sword backward, Yi Chen stopped as well. He looked up and said, if you have any powerful attacks or hidden power, just use them all. In front of me, you have no advantage at all. Don't be so full of yourself. This fragmentation mace isn't my strongest move. Moreover, I feel that it's time to increase my battle power. As he spoke, an extremely dazzling yet not glaring dark red light burst out from Chu Zhongtian's body. His entire body seemed to be made of diamond, because how could a human's body endure such pure Jin Yuan? The purity of this Jin Yuan surpassed everyone else's. Fire spirit body, wrong. Earth spirit body, wrong as well. Jing Yaoshuan and Li Xiaoyun were guessing astral spirit sun's constitution. They had never fought with this person before, so they knew very little about him. They only knew that he had the strength to kill ordinary spirit warriors. This couldn't be faked, and no one would do so. However, neither the fire spirit body nor the earth spirit body were this tyrannical. The latter's constitution seemed to have surpassed the elemental spirit body, which was why he could endure purer and more explosive Jin Yuan. Fortunately, he hadn't condensed a true martial soul. Otherwise, he would be even more frightening. The superiority of innate talent could sometimes obliterate a lifetime's worth of effort. Yi Chen, receive this mace of mine, and I'll admit that you're my opponent. Although Chu Zhongtian had turned serious, there were degrees of seriousness. Evidently, this was only ordinary seriousness. Can Yi Chen do it? The Jin Yuan bursting out of astral spirit sun's body is already not inferior to any spirit warrior. It's just that the quantity is a bit smaller. Yeah. This is my first time seeing an astral reaching expert with Sea of Soul Realm Jin Yuan. Everyone knew how frightening astral spirit sun was. Therefore, they were more partial to him. After all, the former was famous here, while Yi Chen had no fame in the southern sector. Yi Chen didn't reply, nor did he explain. He only made a single movement, which was to return the thunder sword to its sheath. Then, his body faintly trembled, like a peerless sword shaking off the dust on its body, once again blossoming with a resplendent radiance. Bang! The soaring sword intent was as viscous as water, soaring straight into the clouds. The sea of clouds was torn apart, revealing a spiral-shaped hole. Stunning sky was torn apart, and the purest Yuan Qi inside couldn't leak out, completely sealed by the sword intent. To tear apart stunning sky by relying on sword intent alone, how powerful was this sword intent? Edict Prince Li Xiaoyun raised his head, his eyes squinting into a line as he said word by word, Quasi-Master Sword Intent. Quasi-Master Sword Intent and Master Sword Intent had similar foundations, but the latter blossomed with Sword Intent radiance. In other words, as long as the Quasi-Master Sword Intent blossomed with radiance, it would immediately advance to Master Sword Intent. However, in any case, Quasi-Master Sword Intent was already the strongest sword intent under Master Grade. In terms of might, it was more or less the same as Master Grade Martial Will. Chu Zhongtian was stunned, and his expression immediately turned gloomy. He originally thought that exchanging pointers with the opponent was already giving him a lot of face. But now, the situation seemed to have reversed. The opponent exchanging pointers with him was also giving him face, and it turned into him challenging the opponent, while the latter's sword intent continued to rise. Take my attack. Tyrant Dragon Rapier Destruction. His figure flashed as Chu Zhongtian grabbed the dark red rapier with both of his hands, exploding with speed. A tangible light shot out from Yi Chen's eyes as he pulled out the destruction sword with his right hand and held the thunder sword's hilt with his left hand, accumulating power and lowering his center of gravity. Whoosh! Before Chu Zhongtian arrived, the strong wind had already blown Yi Chen's long black hair into the air, making it look like a black waterfall. Coupled with his handsome and elegant face, he looked like a sword artist from a painting. Arriving above Yi Chen in an instant, Chu Zhongtian raised the rapier in his hand high up. A blazing dark red stream shot out like a dark red demonic dragon, making him look like a deity. One was extremely moving, the other extremely calm. It formed a miraculous scene where even the wind stopped moving. Break! Chu Zhongtian roared and hacked down with the rapier. Chop! Yi Chen waved his left and right hands at the same time. Two sword lights slashed out, interweaving into an irregular cross shape, dividing the space in front of him into 4 parts. Tyrant Dragon Rapier Destruction. Sky Thunder Cut, Reverse Sky Thunder Cut. The two killing moves collided. The crowd could not hear anything at all. They could only see a huge mottled light ball wrapping around the two, making it impossible to see their figures. Boom! A dark red demonic dragon rushed out and tore the light ball apart. Poochie! A sword mark appeared on the other side of the light ball as sword lights soared into the sky. The next moment, a shockwave spread out like a flash flood. In the blink of an eye, it covered the sky of dozens of li. At the center of the shockwave, a dark red and dark blue light beam pierced through the clouds and soared into the sky. Look, the buildings outside the splendid garden are weathering. The streets are also sinking. Someone saw a shocking scene. The sturdy buildings made of thunder-veined stones had turned into fine sand, scattering with a breeze. It filled the entire sky, and the streets were also filled with dust and sinking rapidly. The destructive power created by the exchange between the two shocked everyone once again. Not only were the spectators of the younger generation shocked, even the experts in Thunder City were shocked. What level of battle could affect such a large area? Was the level of this year's tea gathering really that high? The corner of Jing Aoshuan's mouth twitched. Fortunately, the splendid garden was protected by a restrictive power. Otherwise, under this attack, the entire garden would have been obliterated. As for the buildings outside the garden, they were not residential buildings. Since the martial tea gathering was taking place, there was no one there. Otherwise, who knew how many people would have died under the aftermath? Pang! In the sky, Chu Zhongtian's body flew backwards. The clothes on his chest had a crisscrossed sword mark, revealing his skin and muscles. His skin and muscles did not suffer any injuries, only 2 white marks were left, and his muscles were slightly dented. However, his expression was one of extreme anger, as if his dignity had been challenged. An even more terrifying aura erupted from his body, boiling wantonly. As his opponent, Yi Chen only took 3 steps back before stopping his body and looking at the retreating Chu Zhongtian with an indifferent expression. Not only is his Jin Yuan powerful, his physical body is also terrifyingly strong. Even the dual sword style couldn't hurt him. Yi Chen frowned slightly. The power of the dual sword style was obvious to all. When one's power was raised to the same level, the power of the dual sword style would be equivalent to a profound martial skill at 40% completion. And this was because Yi Chen had only learned the basics of the dual sword style. Even so, it was still extremely powerful. Chapter 467. Buzz. Stamping his foot in the void, a circular ripple spread out, and Chu Zhongtian forcibly stabilized his body. He calmed his boiling blood and qi, then looked straight at Yi Chen, who was 1,000 meters away, and coldly said, "You are the first astral reaching expert to force me back. You can be proud of yourself. However, that's all. Next, I will suppress you in all aspects until I obtain victory. You'd better prepare yourself." Down below, South Rudra region's people creased their brows. This astral spirit's son was too arrogant. In the exchange just now, everyone could see that Yi Chen had the absolute upper hand. Although they didn't know why he hadn't injured Astral Spirit's son, Yi Chen's strength had already explained everything. Suppress me in all aspects. Yi Chen shook his head. No, you can't do it. Chu Zhongtian faintly smiled. Perhaps you think I'm arrogant and egotistical. But when I display my ultimate power before you, you'll know your own ignorance. Ultimate power. The spectators below didn't pay attention to Chu Zhongtian's tone and attitude. Instead, their curiosity was piqued by his last words. What was ultimate power? Jing Yaoxuan and Li Xiaoyun exchanged a glance. In truth, although the battle between Chu Zhongtian and Yi Chen was world-shaking, it wasn't enough to move them. But now, it seemed like Chu Zhongtian was still concealing his strength. They wondered if Yi Chen had any other trump cards. Hearing these words, Yi Chen's gaze flickered. At this point it was almost time for both sides to reveal their true strength. Letting out a light breath, Yi Chen said, "Ignorance is the language of gods." Saying the word ignorance means that your self-confidence is inflating. Very well, let me see your ultimate power. The two confronted each other with intense battle intent. Whether I'm ignorant or not, let me show you. Glancing at Yi Chen, Chu Zhongtian closed his eyes and relaxed his body to its most natural state. He then spread his arms as if embracing the sun. Zhen Yuan, full release. Chu Zhongtian's relaxed body suddenly tightened. An extremely frightening and overbearing aura burst out from his body. The moment this aura burst out, every single pore on Chu Zhongtian's body exuded dark red streams of air. The streams of air curled up like smoke and mist. That was not all. The streams of air suddenly moved at a high speed, turning from a mist to a crystalline shape. They were like strands of dark red silk that were tens of thousands of years old. Not even treasured weapons could cut them. It must be known that the number of dark red crystal threads that were flowing out from Chu Zhongtian's body was more than 10 million. At that moment, the sun in the sky lost its color, and the whole world seemed to have turned black and white. Only the place where Chu Zhongtian stood had bright colors, and the color dyed the space red. Rumble. The ultra-high density of true essence immediately caused the world to change. In the sky above, dark clouds covered the sky, lightning flashed, and wind and rain swayed. Within Thunder City, hurricanes swept out without rhyme or reason, and the hurricanes battered towards all directions. The front of the hurricanes even converged into a wave of air that broke and snapped some flagpoles that were stuck at the entrance of the streets. On the mountain river platform, everyone felt it the most. In their eyes, the weather seemed to have changed from a sunny summer to a rainy season. The surroundings were gray and gloomy, and Chu Zhongtian, who was high up in the sky, had turned the place he was in into a dark red world. He was the king of that world. This. Jing Yaoxuan and Li Xiaoyun's eyes were filled with bewilderment. What kind of physique can give birth to such a frightening Zhen Yuan? Li Xiaoyun thought hard. Jing Yaoxuan said solemnly, a dark red Zhen Yuan, a physique that surpasses the attribute of a spirit body. Could it be, the evil spirit body? The moment the words evil spirit body came out, even Jing Yaoxuan, who mentioned the evil spirit body, had a solemn expression, not to mention Li Xiaoyun. Who would have thought that the evil spirit body that only appears once in 10,000 years would be born? This is truly a peak era. From the looks of it, what Chu Zhongtian has is not Jin Yuan, but evil Yuan, which is above Jin Yuan and belongs to the evil spirit body. Ha 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 ha, a thunderous laughter came from the sky, and it came from Chu Zhongtian. My physique is the evil spirit body that only appears once in 10,000 years, and what I cultivate is not Jin Yuan, but evil Yuan, which is several times stronger than Jin Yuan. One move, and I can defeat you. Evil spirit body, so that's how it is. Yi Chen finally understood why Chu Zhongtian's Jin Yuan was so pure and frightening. The combination of two Yuan Qis with different attributes was called astral Qi. Similarly, the combination of two Jin Yuan with different attributes was called evil Yuan. The might of astral qi was several times stronger than ordinary yuan qi, and evil yuan was naturally several times stronger than jin yuan. Normally speaking, it was impossible for humans to have astral essence. It was not only because of the endurance of the body, but also because of the conflicting attributes. Humans were not like nature. Nature could allow two different attributes of origin qi to fuse together, but humans could not. Therefore, if one wanted to have astral essence, it was impossible to rely on artificial means. The only way was to rely on talent. And this talent was precisely the evil spirit body. Those who possessed the evil spirit body were born with a compound attribute, be it metal and wind, wood and water, fire and earth, and so on. Possessing any one of these compound attributes meant that one could combine the two corresponding types of true essence together to form astral essence. If his guess was correct, then Chu Zhongtian's astral essence should be a combination of fire attribute true essence and earth attribute true essence. This was called fire-earth astral essence, also known as fire-earth astral essence. Of course, although the evil spirit body was called a spirit body, it was actually different from a spirit body. Those with a single attribute spirit body were most proficient in cultivating the corresponding Jin Yuan, and could achieve twice the result with half the effort, or even several times. The same was true for comprehending concepts and profound meanings, such as Jing Yaoshuan's thunder spirit body. But the evil spirit body was not a combination of two different attributes, otherwise it would be several times more terrifying, and even Yi Chen would be killed in a second. The universe seemed to limit the excessively powerful constitution. The evil spirit body was a combination of two relatively compatible attributes. Individually, it was much weaker than an attribute spirit body. Only by combining them could it surpass an attribute spirit body. In other words, Chu Zhongtian's evil spirit body was not a combination of fire and earth spirit bodies, but a combination of two attributes that were slightly weaker than an attribute spirit body. There was no doubt about this. In any case, the combination of the two Jin Yuan was too powerful. The Jin Yuan's power increased several times, and so did the quality. In the same environment, Chu Zhongtian's battle strength was several times stronger than a martial artist of the same realm. This was Chu Zhongtian's ultimate strength. What? Evil spirit body. Evil spirit body. Chu Zhongtian's ultimate strength is actually this. It is said that the evil spirit body has not appeared for nearly 5,000 years, and in the past, it was rare to see one in 10,000 years. Who would have thought that it would appear in advance, and this person is Chu Zhongtian? If Chu Zhongtian did not say it, many people would not have thought of it. The evil spirit body was too mysterious, and they had only heard some ancient rumors. They did not know whether it was true or not, so they naturally would not think about it in this direction. But now, Chu Zhongtian took the initiative to say it. Recalling the rumors about the evil spirit body, their eyes turned sluggish, filled with disbelief. They did not know how powerful the evil spirit body was. They only knew that every time an evil spirit body appeared, it would set off a battle of geniuses that affected the whole continent. At this time, the number of geniuses on the continent was much higher than usual, and the evil spirit body was one of the kings among the many talents, the apex talent. Every person who possessed the evil spirit physique had a legendary personal experience, and was nearly invincible in the world. One must know that a small improvement for others would be a big improvement for those who possessed the evil spirit physique. Even if they fell behind for a moment, they might surpass them in the next moment. The evil spirit body was a monstrous physique. Sooner or later, those with the evil spirit body would also become monstrous characters. This was a gift from the heavens favoring them. This is too unexpected. Chu Zhongtian is arrogant, and he has the capital to be arrogant. This can't be blamed on him. Those with the evil spirit body are born with different personalities. They may be extremely bloodthirsty, cold, or arrogant. This is related to the composition of the compound attribute, which influences and shapes their character. Although I was a little optimistic about Yi Chen, I have to admit that in front of a monstrous talent, effort and perception will be erased. No, physique is only a narrow sense of talent. In fact, those who can become geniuses all have their own talent. You can't become a genius by relying on effort. You're right. Geniuses, natural talents. They all have talent, but the form is different. Everyone was discussing, both surprised and shocked. The appearance of the evil spirit body meant that this was indeed a peak era. Now, they were even more certain. Tuobaku, will Yichen lose? Mu Lingfeng looked at Tuobaku. Tuobaku shook his head, I don't know, but he can't be blamed for losing. Chu Zhongtian's talent is too powerful. His battle power is several times that of the same realm warriors. Who can resist him? In the sky, Chu Zhongtian held the dark red rapier in his right hand and raised it high above his head. An extremely bright dark red light condensed on the tip of the rapier, and the area instantly turned into a vacuum. I can defeat you in one move. Chu Zhongtian looked down at Yi Chen, his pupils slightly dark red. Monstrous talent. He, then my innately powerful soul can also be considered a monstrous talent, right? Let's see who is more monstrous. Yi Chen shook his head, his eyes suddenly turning deep. His forehead swelled like a diamond bead, and the swollen part actually released a radiance that almost didn't exist in this world. Buzz. The black and white color faded away, the dark clouds dispersed, and the thunder disappeared. An incorporeal sword intent soared into the sky. What was even more frightening was that although the sword intent this time was still invisible and could only be felt, wherever the sword intent touched, a radiance was born. This was the radiance of sword intent. When the sword intent gave birth to a radiance, it would be the master-level sword intent. The master-level sword intent had already surpassed the boundary between illusion and reality. Wherever there was radiance, it would be the sword intent. The eyes could see it, and they could even feel it. It made the sword intent become real. Chapter 468. Master-level sword intent. Li Xiaoyun suddenly stood up, his face full of shock. Jing Yaoshuan looked at the sword intent radiance in a daze, then let out a breath and said, judging from this aspect alone, he is definitely the number one since the ancient times. In the peak era, all kinds of body types have appeared. Now, it is time for the soul and will geniuses to appear. Every time the peak era arrived, the warriors in the continent would have a feast for their eyes, because all kinds of talents that had appeared in the history would appear one after another. For example, the elemental spirit body, the evil spirit body, and the talent in will like Yi Chen. It was said that there were also many other talents that were not inferior to the others, such as the innate great Dharma body, which was rarely seen in 100,000 years. People with such Dharma bodies would have Jin Yuan 10 times or even dozens of times more than ordinary people. As long as these people did not die, their achievements would be shocking. The peak era, the competition has never been so intense. Li Xiaoyun's eyes were filled with passion. That kind of passion was something that ordinary people could not describe. They did not understand the feeling of standing at the peak. Jing Yaoshuan, originally, I only wanted to exchange pointers with you. There was no need for a winner or loser. But now, I've changed my mind. You, me, and the two of them, we need to have a winner or loser. Only a winner or loser can make all of us improve. Exchanging pointers will not solve any big problems. Jing Yaoshuan said lightly, this is also what I wanted to say. In the future competition among the geniuses of the continent, only one person can stand at the peak and look down on the whole world. Boom! While the two were talking, Chu Zhongtian threw out his most powerful attack toward Yi Chen. It was still the tyrant dragon destruction, but it was twice as powerful as before. The dark red demonic dragon chi almost shattered the void as it slashed down. Sky Thunder Cut. Reverse Sky Thunder Cut. The light on Yi Chen's forehead did not dissipate as he held the thunder sword in his left hand and the destruction sword in his right hand. The two swords slashed toward the same point, crisscrossing and bursting out. A dreamy sword intent radiance shot out like a silver galaxy in the sky, deep and unshakable. Rumble. This time, the two of them were fighting at an altitude of 10,000 meters. Destructive energy shockwaves radiated out, creating a mottled light ball with a diameter of several tens of meters. The light ball rapidly expanded in a spiral shape, and soon became several miles in size. Finally, it exploded, shaking the world and causing the air to flow more than 1,000 times faster. Evil spirit body is also several times stronger than ordinary people. You can't hurt me. Chu Zhongtian was sent flying. His face was filled with shock at first, and then he roared in anger. He didn't expect that Yi Chen's battle prowess would rise to such an extent. Not only did Yi Chen suppress him, but he also sent him flying again. This was something he didn't expect at all. If one time isn't enough, then 10 times. Yi Chen only took half a step back. After that, he turned around and rushed forward, displaying the twin sword style once again. Clang! The intersecting sword light exploded in front of Chu Zhongtian, and the dark red rapier almost flew out of his hand. This attack made Chu Zhongtian fly back even faster. Every time a circular shockwave appeared around his body, his flying speed would increase by 1-fold. 3 times, which meant 3 times the speed of sound. This might be the fastest backward speed in a battle between astral-reaching realm experts. Damn it, stop right there. Chu Zhongtian's body shook violently, and the air behind him exploded. The resulting explosive power cancelled out the power of flying back, and he seized the opportunity to stop himself from flying back. Shoo! Ignoring his boiling qi and blood, Chu Zhongtian's evil yuan exploded, dodging Yi Chen's third attack. Such a fast speed. This time, Yi Chen was a bit surprised. It seemed like the evil yuan had not only increased Chu Zhongtian's battle prowess, but it had also increased his defense and speed to an unimaginable level. Even if he was very arrogant, Yi Chen wouldn't be able to beat him quickly. No, it would be very difficult to beat him down. He was like a cockroach that couldn't be beaten. Fragmenting rapier. A fine dust appeared, and as Chu Zhongtian dodged, he threw out a rapier attack at Yi Chen. Chin. The thunder sword in his left hand sliced out in the opposite direction, and Yi Chen blocked out Chu Zhongtian's attack. He even sent a part of the energy back, giving him a taste of his own medicine. Hee hee. Chu Zhongtian sneered as he formed a fist with his left hand and punched out, shattering the energy wave. Down below, Toabaku mumbled to himself, this battle is not going to be that easy to decide. He naturally knew that Yi Chen was more powerful, but it didn't mean that Chu Zhongtian was like a fish on a chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered. The difference between the two was only a thin line. Plus, Chu Zhongtian's speed and defense were so freakish, which cancelled out Yi Chen's advantage. The others were thinking the same thing as Toabaku. In fact, when Yi Chen exploded with his master-level sword intent, it was what shocked them the most, and they would never be able to forget it. Chin 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 chin, the two exchanged blows in the sky, and the sparks from the collision of their weapons never stopped. Whenever one side lit up, the other side would appear as well. Perhaps, only by directly hitting his body would I be able to wound him. After forcing back Chu Zhongtian with one sword attack, Yi Chen thought to himself. You are able to raise your sword intense power to master level, which is indeed very powerful. Even I have to admire you. But, with the evil spirit body, I am unbeatable. Even 2 of you together would not be enough. Chu Zhongtian had already understood that wanting to beat Yi Chen beautifully was just a pipe dream. Right now, the only thing he could do was to exhaust his opponent's power and use a prolonged battle to defeat him. Is that so? Yi Chen glanced at the corner of his eyes, and his figure instantly appeared on the right side of Chu Zhongtian. The light he brought up was like a sword light, giving people the illusion that he was using his body to perform a sword art. What kind of step art is this? Chu Zhongtian was caught off guard as he hurried to raise his rapier to block. Clang! 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 Yi Chen attacked 64 times, and 3 of them broke through Chu Zhongtian's defense, landing on his shoulder, chest, and arm. The sound of clothes tearing rang out as Chu Zhongtian retreated with a gloomy face. Using the body as a sword, is this the unity of man and sword? Jing Yaoshuan was a little confused. Li Xiaoyun shook his head. No, an ordinary unity of man and sword would not be able to move as freely as this. This is still a sword art, but he has turned himself into a sword art. However, the unity of man and sword is about the inseparability of man and sword. There is a subtle difference between the two. Whether it was the unity of man and sword or not, or he had turned himself into a sword, Chu Zhongtian was very passive. After all, Yi Chen's sword art was already very powerful, and now, even his step art was a sword art. His reaction was inevitably a beat slower, and he could not grasp the initiative. Chi! The clothes on his back were torn open as Chu Zhongtian hurried to turn around and wave his rapier. No, normal attacks would not be able to do anything to him. I have to land a killing attack. The rapier's shadow brushed past his chest. Yi Chen lifted up his left hand and flicked his finger. Boom! The dark red rapier in his hand was blown away, and the sword qi spread out. Chu Zhongtian knew that it was not good, since he had forgotten that Yi Chen's fingers could also release sword qi. Moreover, it was even more powerful than normal sword qi, almost as powerful as an ace attack. Cut! Seizing the opportunity, Yi Chen's speed exploded. His 2 swords, one in front and the other in the back, attacked out. Impossible! Chu Zhongtian threw out his left fist. A metal exploding sound was heard as the sword light on Chu Zhongtian's fist sliced through, leaving behind 2 intersecting white marks. Burning sparks shot out everywhere, covering more than 1 mile. Meanwhile, Chu Zhongtian's feet felt weak, and he was blown away. A battle of this level has already surpassed my imagination. I simply can't imagine how an astral-reaching expert could possess such a frightening battle power. Yeah, Astral Spirit Sun has the Astral Spirit Body, which boosts his battle power and defense. No wonder he could kill a spirit warrior. Yi Chen is even more frightening. He has already displayed the sharpness of a sword artist to the extreme. Astral Spirit Sun can't have an easy time against him, and is completely suppressed. This is a peak confrontation, a battle of the highest level among the young generation of Southern Sector. On the platform, everyone was extremely excited. Their eyes were unblinkingly watching the battle in the sky, although they couldn't see the actual content of the battle. Dark Flame Annihilation Wave. Being forced into a corner by Yi Chen, Chu Zhongtian used the Dark Flame Annihilation Wave, which had the widest range but was slightly inferior in single-target attacks. With a swing of the mace, a dark red radiance shot out in a fan shape, soaring into the sky and submerging Yi Chen within. Those with good eyesight could see a gap in the fan shape. Faintly, one could see a human figure standing there with 2 swords crossed, repelling the dark red radiance. Tyrant Dragon Mace Destruction. Seizing the upper hand for the first time, Chu Zhongtian flew into the dark red radiance, which had yet to dissipate. His mace descended from the sky and fiercely chopped down. A dragon roar resounded in the sky, and the dark red demonic dragon chi flow wreaked havoc. However, the next moment, the demonic dragon chi flow was decapitated, and the blue-robed Yi Chen rushed out, sweeping his sword horizontally, scattering a crescent moon-like sword light. Truly repulsive. Chu Zhongtian had already used up all of his power, so he had no choice but to raise his mace to block and back out. Not good. I can only perform the 9th movement of the Green Lotus Sword Arts. Only the 9th movement can open a gap in his defense and create an opportunity. With that thought, Yi Chen put away his thunder sword and destruction sword, and the greenwood sword bounced out. The greenwood sword shone with a soft blue light. Within the light, there seemed to be countless plants growing, full of vitality. Carrying the greenwood sword, Yi Chen chased after Chu Zhongtian. The greenwood sword twirled in his hand, and then stabbed out, close to nature. The ninth movement of the Green Lotus Sword Arts. Life, life, life. Chu Zhongtian opened his eyes wide, watching the sword light enlarge in front of his eyes. That sword attack was so mysterious. It did not seem to be a sword art, but the process of plants growing. Under this sword attack that seemed to be in harmony with nature, Chu Zhongtian realized that no matter how hard he tried to dodge, he would not be able to avoid it. 50%. Jing Yaoshuan, who was watching from below, could not help but blurt out. Before comprehending the profound, one could only comprehend a 50% profound martial art at most. However, Yi Chen's sword attack had obviously reached the critical point. In other words, with one more step, Yi Chen would be able to comprehend a bit of the wood profound. At that time, the realm would be completely different. Since I can't dodge it, then there is no need to dodge. Chu Zhongtian roared, holding the dark red rapier in his hand and attacking with all of his power. Pooh! The sword and rapier clashed. Chu Zhongtian's power was shattered the moment it touched the rapier, and his hand started to bleed. Meanwhile, Yi Chen's sword attack seemed to have endless power. It seemed to be unstoppable. This sword attack was even more horrifying than the double sword attack. Chapter 469. The sword turned into a beam of light and shot out of Chu Zhongtian's hand. Blue veins popped out on his face as he pushed his evil yuan to its limit. In the next second, the dark red chi flow burst out with a light even brighter than the sun. There were even beams of red light shooting out, attacking in all directions. However, Yi Chen, who had thrown out this sword attack, had a powerful sword chi which was shapeless and formless. As long as there was a beam of red light coming towards it, it would be bounced off and shattered. Crack! Pooh! The greenwood sword stabbed on the dark red protective evil yuan, creating a teeth-aching sound of metal rubbing against each other. In the next second, the protective layer was pierced through. Yi Chen was expressionless as he waved the long sword in his hand, not only tearing apart Chu Zhongtian's protective Jin Yuan, but also cutting off his left arm. In his sight, Chu Zhongtian was left wide open without any protection. A scene that could be regarded as a classic by many sword artists happened. Yi Chen put the greenwood sword back into the scabbard at his waist. At the same time, he took out the destruction sword and held the thunder sword with his left hand as well. The whole series of movements were completed in the blink of an eye, so fast that it created countless afterimages. Sky thunder cut, reverse sky thunder cut. Holding his breath, Yi Chen's eyes shone brightly. Two beams of sword light intertwined and exploded in a cross shape, landing heavily on Chu Zhongtian's chest. Swoosh! Blood splashed out from the cross shape. Chu Zhongtian had been wounded. His whole body was pushed back to the stage by the power of the two sword attacks. The wind pressure generated was like a storm with a force of 10 degrees. The sound of people taking in cold breaths was heard one after another. Chu Zhongtian has lost. Even with such a powerful defense, he was still defeated. I am afraid only a sword artist like Yi Chen can beat Chu Zhongtian. If it were someone else with similar power, they might not be able to do anything to Chu Zhongtian. Our southern sector has never had a young swordsman, but this time, we finally have one, and he is definitely the best. Listening to the discussion of the crowd, Chu Zhongtian's expression was quite ugly. He had lost, and it was the first time he had lost to a member of the younger generation. It seemed that his opponent was a few years younger than him, at most 22 years old, but his experience was definitely not that of a 22-year-old. He lowered his head and looked at his chest. It was dripping with blood, and a cross-shaped wound had appeared on it. The wound at the intersection was the deepest, almost splitting his sternum. Shame. Absolute humiliation. Evil spirit body was different from ordinary physiques. The scars on the body would not disappear before reaching the life and death realm. These scars would always accompany him. Boom! A violent dark red chi flow shot up into the sky. Chu Zhongtian wanted to battle with Yi Qin again. Chu Zhongtian, you've lost. This match is over. Jing Yaoshuan stepped forward to stop him. Chu Zhongtian glared at Jing Yaoshuan, you can't stop me. Jing Yaoshuan said indifferently, the martial tea gathering is not a place to decide life and death. Losing one move is still a loss. I hope you can abide by the rules. Ha! For me, there must be a real winner in a battle. Get out of my way. Chu Zhongtian took one step forward, and a fierce dark red chi flow shot out. Jing Yaoshuan did not continue to speak. Thunder flashed in front of her eyes, and the thunder was extremely violent. In the next second, a wave of dark blue chi flow shot up into the sky. It contained an extremely horrifying martial will, directly tearing apart the sky. The two chi flows clashed together, each occupying half of the sky. Thunder Princess Jing Yaoshuan used her actions to tell Chu Zhongtian whose home field this was. Everyone tried their best to defend against the two chi flows as they exclaimed. Martial spirit, martial intent, and this Jin Yuan, it doesn't seem to be any weaker than Chu Zhongtian's evil Yuan. Could she have already trained her top-rank Earth Realm martial art to the 14th level? No, I'm afraid it's the highest level, the 15th level. I've long heard that Princess Jing has the Thunder Spirit body, and her speed of training Thunder Element Jin Yuan is several times faster than ordinary people. Now that I see it, it seems to be true. Although the Jin Yuan trained by the Element Spirit body was not as good as the evil Yuan of the Evil Spirit body, there was one thing that the Evil Spirit body could not compare with, which was the speed of training the corresponding Jin Yuan. Others might only be able to increase their martial arts by one level in a few years, but the Element Spirit body could increase it by 3 or even 4 levels, which led to the Spirit body being able to train the top-rank Earth Realm martial arts to the highest level faster. Without a doubt, in terms of martial arts training, Jing Yaoshuan had already walked ahead of everyone else. She had even condensed a real martial spirit. Yi Qin, who had landed on the stage, was not surprised at this scene. If Jing Yaoshuan did not have some ability, she would not be able to become the host of this tea gathering. Of course, he could also tell that Chu Zhongtian's evil Yuan was actually stronger than Jing Yaoshuan's Jin Yuan, even if it was enhanced with the martial spirit martial intent. But, one should not forget that Jing Yaoshuan's speed of training Thunder Element Jin Yuan was fast, and her speed of comprehending Thunder Mentality and Thunder Profound was also fast. This was something that Chu Zhongtian could not compete with. Chu Zhongtian had obviously thought of this as well. Not to mention the fact that he had consumed a lot of energy and only had 80 to 90% of his battle strength left. Even at his peak, he might not be able to defeat Jing Yaoshuan. She was an expert at the same level as him, and without a life and death battle, it would be hard to tell who was stronger and who was weaker. Withdrawing his evil Yuan, Chu Zhongtian turned around and walked back to his seat while saying, all right, I'll give you, Jing Yaoshuan, some face. Jing Yaoshuan also withdrew her Jin Yuan and secretly let out a breath. She was really worried that Chu Zhongtian would do something irrational. Once he flipped out, she was afraid that she would need to gather the power of Yi Qin, Li Xiaoyun, and herself to suppress him. After all, defeating and suppressing were two different things. Chu Zhongtian was the kind of person who could not be beaten down, and it could be seen from the fact that he only bled a little after receiving a killing move from Yi Qin. However, Chu Zhongtian's concession had made her think more highly of him. The untamable nature of the evil spirit body was something that had been known since the ancient times. Once they had made up their mind, it would be hard to stop them. Turning around, Jing Yaoshuan nodded at Yi Qin. From her eyes, it was easy to tell that she had already considered Yi Qin as someone at the same level as her. Then, I will go rest now. Yi Chen held his fists together and returned to his seat. Yi Chen won. Yi Chen had actually beaten the true Dragon Realm Astral Spirit Sun. Our South Rudra region has been pushed to the heart of the storm. We have to work even harder when we get back, so that we won't be looked down upon by others. Among the 17 warriors from the South Rudra region, some of them were the top warriors in this year's Hidden Dragon rank, so they were discussing secretly. Not only the South Rudra region, but also the young warriors from the other regions were watching Yi Chen. Their eyes were filled with passion, jealousy, and admiration. It was extremely complicated. In the pavilion, Tuaku forced a smile. I did not expect that the astral spirit sun with the evil spirit body would lose to you. I guess you can even be called the #1 warrior of the Southern Rudra region. Yi Chen shook his head and smiled. Don't look down on Chu Zhongtian. Seriously speaking, his strength is more or less the same as mine. Defense is also a part of strength. If we were to have a battle of life and death, I would not have the confidence to win. As for the #1 warrior of the Southern Rudra region, you are underestimating Jing Aoshuan and Li Xiaoyun too much. They might not be able to beat Chu Zhongtian, but they might not lose to me either. The path of cultivation is too unpredictable. Tuaku nodded. He knew that what Yi Chen said was right. But, no matter what, among the young warriors of the Southern Rudra region, there was almost no one who could beat Yi Chen. Li Xiaoyun, it is our turn to fight. Without returning to her seat, Jing Aoshuan looked at Edict Prince Li Xiaoyun. Of course. Opening his silver fan, Li Xiaoyun flashed onto the stage. The battle between Jing Aoshuan and Li Xiaoyun was definitely not inferior to the battle between Yi Chen and Chu Zhongtian. The shockwaves coming from the stage never stopped. Jing Aoshuan's martial arts had already been trained to the highest level, the 15th level. Her Jin Yuan was extremely pure, and she had also condensed a real martial spirit. Combined with her thunder profound martial arts, each of her movements was extremely aggressive, possessing the will and style of thunder. Li Xiaoyun's martial arts were at the 14th level, so his Jin Yuan purity was slightly lower than Jing Aoshuan's. However, in terms of willpower, he was only below Yi Chen's. He had actually condensed a quasi-master level martial spirit. Moreover, he had trained a lot of profound martial arts, probably the most out of everyone present. He had 3 wind profound martial arts and 2 starlight profound martial arts. In addition, there was a mysterious power sealed in both of his hands. Every time this mysterious power exploded, it would be able to dissolve Jing Aoshuan's attacks. Boom! The Zhen Yuan wall in front of the pavilion was shattered, and the fist wind was about to reach. Yi Chen flicked out a green lotus sword chi, shattering the fist wind. What a horrifying thunder profound martial art! Tuabaku said. This time, the Zhen Yuan wall shattering was completely an accident. After all, the shockwave alone would not be able to shatter Tuabaku's defense. But it was not the shockwave that had shattered the Zhen Yuan wall, but Jing Aoshuan's real attack. It turned out that Edict Prince Li Xiaoyun had dodged Jing Aoshuan's attack, which had caused the fist wind to travel all the way. Fortunately, the fist wind had already exhausted its power. Otherwise, it would not have been something that a green lotus sword chi could shatter. A 50% mastery thunder profound martial skill is indeed extraordinary. Yi Chen himself had also trained the thunder mentality, so he could naturally see Jing Aoshuan's achievement in the thunder profound martial art. In fact, the thunder spirit body combined with the thunder profound martial art would give her an advantage over normal people. On the stage, Jing Aoshuan and Li Xiaoyun shot up into the sky. Boom! Boom! Thunder flickered in the sky, and the entire dark cloud turned into Jing Aoshuan's support. Li Xiaoyun was not going to pass on the responsibility. The wind profound martial art could always blow away the dark clouds and the thunder, while the starlight profound martial art had an unimaginable penetrative power. Extreme Emperor World Shocking Fist Art. Jing Aoshuan performed a fist art that was even more horrifying than the Extreme Emperor World Tyrannical Fist Art. The vibrating thunder light was like an angry dragon as it rushed out. Break! The iron fan in Li Xiaoyun's hand danced in the sky as he performed an extremely powerful wind-profound martial art as well, shattering Jing Yaoshuan's attack. This battle lasted until dusk. Both sides were still evenly matched. Although they were physically exhausted, their mental state was obviously more vigorous than before. It was the fighting spirit that came from being fully focused. After another 1,000 attacks, Li Xiaoyun stopped his attacks and laughed. It seems like half a day is not enough. The tea gathering will end in the morning. Jing Yaoshuan nodded. Let's call it a draw. It was not that the two did not want to have a winner. In fact, they were clear that when they were exhausted, it would be the best time to do so. However, time obviously did not allow it. After all, they were not the finale, and they still had to fight with Chu Zhongtian and Yi Chen. As for who to choose, it would be decided by drawing lots. If they drew Chu Zhongtian, they would not be able to fight with Yi Chen. That was something that could not be helped. They could only choose one out of the two, even if it was Chu Zhongtian or Yi Chen. Chapter 470. The sunlight crystal pillar in the beautiful garden had already lit up, its radiance lighting up the entire garden and the platform as if it were daytime. Inside the pavilion, the crowd was in a heated discussion. Princess Jing and Edict Prince are evenly matched. I wonder if there will be a winner in the next two matches. Difficult. Chu Zhongtian's defense is absolutely abnormal, while Princess Jing's attacks are as fast as thunder. Edict Prince is as ethereal as the wind, while Yi Chen's sword art is unfathomable. If we are talking about the chances of winning, I would choose Yi Chen. After all, he is unfathomable. Unfathomable means unfathomable. That makes sense. But, I feel like Edict Prince should be the winner. He has a lot of profound martial arts. Drawing lots was very simple. There were 4 wooden lots, 2 red and 2 blue. The red ones would fight with the red ones, and the blue ones would fight with the blue ones. Spirit power was not allowed, and if one used it, the others would be able to sense it. As for Yi Chen, he did not think of using his soul power to cheat. For him, it was the same no matter who he fought. Yi Chen drew a red lot, and so did Edict Prince Li Xiaoyun. He, my luck is not bad. Compared to Chu Zhongtian, Li Xiaoyun preferred to fight with Yi Chen. It was not because Chu Zhongtian was weak. On the contrary, Chu Zhongtian's defense was too strong. No matter how many profound martial arts he had, he would not be able to gain the upper hand. Therefore, it was better to fight with Yi Chen. Jing Yaoshuan and Chu Zhongtian's match began first. The two had already competed in terms of Jin Yuan and martial will power. Jing Yaoshuan was slightly weaker, but if they were to fight for real, they would be evenly matched. Jing Yaoshuan's comprehension of profound sense martial arts was higher than Chu Zhongtian's. Dark Flame Annihilation Wave. The battle had reached its climax. Chu Zhongtian had performed his wide-ranged profound sense martial art, which was a bit weaker in terms of single-target attacks. The dark red energy wave drowned Jing Yaoshuan within a second. Ping! The energy wave exploded. Jing Yaoshuan went against the current and punched at Chu Zhongtian with her right fist that carried endless lightning. Chu Zhongtian's tyrant dragon truncheon of destruction was just completed, and he met it head-on. An earth-shattering explosion shook the entire sky above Thunder City. 2 figures were sent flying backwards. Between them was a rapidly expanding dark light that devoured the darkness. Energy blade slash. Chu Zhongtian's vital spirit was indeed powerful. In terms of dispelling negative influences, it was stronger than Jing Yaoshuan's. Therefore, even though he was in a reverse state, he could still use a small part of his vital spirit to launch a large-scale ordinary attack on Jing Yaoshuan. Chi chi chi. The dark red blade of airflow sliced through the void and enveloped Jing Yaoshuan. Jing Yaoshuan took a deep breath. As she inhaled, her body flashed with tyrannical thunder. Her Jinqi seemed to suddenly become active, forming a dark blue vortex outside her body. She clenched her right fist, and her middle finger protruded out as she punched. Extreme Monarch Tyrannical Fist. The mighty fist wind destroyed countless incoming airflow blades and tore apart the dark light that was still expanding, forcing Chu Zhongtian to retreat another 100 steps. However, Chu Zhongtian had already activated his Great Spirit Shield. The fist wind collided with the Great Spirit Shield, and an ear-piercing sound of metal rubbing could be heard. However, there was no effect at all. This Yi Chen is really scary. Seeing this scene, Jing Yaoshuan had to admit that in some aspects, she was inferior to Yi Chen. Since Yi Chen was able to defeat Chu Zhongtian, she thought that even if she couldn't defeat him, she would at least have the upper hand. However, imagination and reality were completely different. Chu Zhongtian was definitely not an easy opponent. His defense was strong, his attack was high, and his dodging was also high. If she didn't have the Thunder Spirit body, which could stimulate the activity of her body and make her reflexes far better than ordinary people, she might not be able to compete with Chu Zhongtian. She more or less knew that Yi Chen was not only strong in battle, but he was also an all-rounder and a genius with super adaptability. For example, there were also restraints between geniuses. Some people with similar strength would lose the battle because they were restrained. However, this problem basically didn't exist for Yi Chen. He wouldn't be at a disadvantage against anyone. If he wanted to attack, he could attack. If he wanted to dodge, he could dodge. If he wanted to use techniques, he could use techniques. All in all, in a one-on-one fight, Jing Yaoshuan wasn't afraid of Yi Chen. In terms of battle adaptability, she was far behind Yi Chen. Yi Chen did not have any weaknesses. He was a flawless sword artist. Li Xiaoyun could also see that Jing Yaoshuan couldn't do anything to Chu Zhongtian. Previously, Yi Chen had defeated Chu Zhongtian. He was very clear about what this meant. I really can't be careless at all. For the first time, Li Xiaoyun didn't have the confidence to win. Even when he was fighting against Jing Yaoshuan, he thought that the final victory would belong to him as long as he had enough time. This wasn't confidence in strength, but confidence in character. Even if he couldn't win, he had to win. However, the battle between Jing Yaoshuan and Chu Zhongtian made him understand that Yi Chen wasn't an ordinary person. Yi Chen didn't have any flaws, which could be seen from Chu Zhongtian's embarrassing look. Involuntarily, Li Xiaoyun turned his head and glanced at Yi Chen. Yi Chen had a deep look in his eyes as he watched the battle between Chu Zhongtian and Jing Yaoshuan. To be exact, he was watching Jing Yaoshuan. Her achievement in the thunder mentality was something he couldn't compete with. He had noticed the details, but the deeper level of the mentality was something he had yet to understand. She is indeed the Thunder Princess. She has already touched the edge of the Thunder Profound. She is only one step away. Yi Chen was secretly shocked. As long as Jing Yaoshuan could learn a little bit of the Thunder Profound, no one here would be her opponent, including him. Of course, there were more areas where he could make breakthroughs, such as the Sword Spirit Embryo, the Green Lotus Sword Spell, and the Wood Mentality. Boom! In the sky, the Dark Chi Flow and the Black Thunder each took up half of the sky. The battle between the two was equally matched, and neither could do anything to the other. Jing Yaoshuan took back her hand and stood in midair. I can't win. Chu Zhongtian made a face, I can't win you either. He was very depressed. It was fine that there was only one Yi Chen, but Jing Yaoshuan was also very powerful. Adding Li Xiaoyun, who was at the same level as Jing Yaoshuan, he couldn't win against any of the three. He had even lost to Yi Chen. Yi Chen, it is our turn. Li Xiaoyun made a gesture with his right hand. Waking up from his state of enlightenment, Yi Chen nodded. Shoo! Shoo! The two did not waste any time and flew into the sky directly. Dancing Dragon Fan. Li Xiaoyun attacked first. A huge amount of wind yuan qi gathered, turning into a crystal-clear tornado, attacking towards Yi Chen. Shoo! The tornado was sliced open. It turned out that Yi Chen had already used his sword to counterattack before the tornado's power reached its peak. Powerful. Li Xiaoyun looked serious. He didn't have time to attack and immediately retreated. While retreating, he waved his iron fan and performed pear flower fan and sickle blade fan. The pear flower-shaped tornado and the sickle-like wind blade attacked Yi Chen from the left and right. Yi Chen was extremely calm. He teleported 7 steps back. These 7 steps were very clever. The tornado and the blade collided 3 steps in front of him, and the distance of 3 steps was the most powerful distance of the reverse sky thunder cut. The sword light rolled up, guiding the chaotic energy wave towards Li Xiaoyun. Li Xiaoyun's speed of retreat was not as fast as the energy wave. He waved his iron fan in the air and protected himself tightly. Boom! 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 Qi power explosions sounded out continuously. Li Xiaoyun's qi and blood were slightly boiling. All of a sudden, Li Xiaoyun was like a light breeze. He had not only avoided the explosion of the energy wave, but had also teleported for dozens of steps. Right where he was standing, the cross-shaped sword light crossed over. It was Yi Chen's double sword flow. So close. A cold light flashed through his eyes. The iron fan in Li Xiaoyun's hand spun and shook. The Starlight Profound Sense martial art, Fan Dance 7-star kill, was thrown out. Without turning around, Yi Chen held the thunder sword with his left hand in a reverse grip. He only swung it backward. The twisted sword light sliced through the 7 cold stars, shattering his opponent's ace attack. At the same time, his feet sliced through the air, flying upside down in the air. He performed the 9th movement of the Green Lotus Sword Arts, Amaranthine Nature. Li Xiaoyun's pupils shrank to the size of a needle. He was very clear about the power of this sword attack. Even Chu Zhongtian had suffered a huge loss, being attacked by Yi Chen without any defensive power. If Li Xiaoyun was hit by this sword attack, he would basically lose for sure. I can't be hit. On Li Xiaoyun's right arm, sparkles of starlight appeared. The blood vessels inside had all turned transparent, visible to the naked eye. On the skin of his right arm, a circle of complicated light patterns appeared. They were very ancient, like stars, but also like the orbit of the stars. On the skin of Li Xiaoyun's left arm, a circle of light patterns appeared as well. It was like a whirlwind pattern, but it was less ancient and more aggressive. Wind barrier. Without any process of performing profound sense, Li Xiaoyun reached out his left hand. A wind wall appeared out of nowhere in front of him. The wind wall was mysterious, with a big whirlwind covering a small whirlwind, and a small whirlwind connecting a big whirlwind. It did not need any power to keep spinning until it was destroyed. Pooh! The wind wall was pierced through and torn apart. The 9th movement of the Green Lotus Sword Arts was not called Amaranthine Nature for nothing. Although the wind wall was self-sustaining, it could not compete with the destructive speed of Amaranthine Nature. It was an extremely horrifying sword attack. 7-star crossing. Li Xiaoyun knew that the wind barrier would not be able to stop Yi Chen, but it did not matter. His real target was the attack of his right hand. He rubbed his thumb, and the iron fan closed, looking like a bright silver iron ruler. The iron ruler was filled with a huge amount of Jin Yuan and starlight, and he waved it out. 1-star bead. 2-star beads. 3-star beads. According to the arrangement of the 7 stars of the Northern Dipper, star beads formed from Jin Yuan and starlight were born one after another. These star beads flickered with a bright light. Yi Chen frowned slightly. The 7 stars of the Northern Dipper in the sky above the true spirit continent were not the same as the 7 stars of his world. They were the main stars of the Northern Dipper star region, and had a magnificent mysterious power. Somehow, he knew that once the 7 stars were arranged, it would be a threat to him. Although he was not afraid of the threat, it would be more effective to destroy it before it was released. The greenwood sword vibrated, and the sword chi that had been waiting for a long time was spat out. Pop! The 6-star bead had just been born, but it was immediately destroyed by the sword chi. Then, the 5th, the 4th, the 3rd, so fast. Li Xiaoyun frowned even harder than Yi Chen's. Yi Chen's toughness was something he had experienced for himself. The latter would not give him any chance at all. His 7-star crossing, the 7-star beads were born at a lightning speed, but it still could not be arranged completely. The last star bead was destroyed, and Yi Chen's amaranthan nature was only left with a trace of power, which crashed onto Li Xiaoyun's protective Jin Yuan. His protective Jin Yuan was not broken, but Li Xiaoyun was blown back. Standing there with his sword in hand, Yi Chen did not chase after Li Xiaoyun. The sword tip pointed at the ground kept spitting out sword light like a poisonous snake. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.